The conversation I never should have had. I believe that some things are best left alone, undisturbed, especially when they slumber in the realm of the unknown. I understand this now. I wish I'd known it earlier, before it happened, that fateful night when shadows gave way to malicious entities, and words whispered both reason and insanity. Before we classify this as fiction or a madman's ramble, let me clarify, I am rational, as sane as you, perhaps more. Yet, the events that transpired were beyond the understanding of an ordinary human mind. Here is my tale, a memory scarred into my consciousness, the horror of which still holds my sleep hostage. A seasoned paranormal investigator, I reveled in the fascination and fear that the supernatural world incited. Each case, a step into the obscure, and each discovery, another piece in the puzzle of the unexplainable. One request led me to the small, desolate town of Hemlock, where local legend spoke of an abandoned mansion on the hill. Whispers of dark apparitions and unsettling voices in the night had driven the town into a state of unspoken terror. My job? To explore. To understand. To validate or debunk. The night had cloaked Hemlock when I arrived. The looming silhouette of the mansion sat ominously against the midnight skies. Armed with only a torch and a voice recorder, I stepped into the darkness of the vast, decaying building. As I threaded through rooms filled with vintage furniture, antique relics, and curtains heavy with dust, a chilling draft swept through, making me shudder. The ambiance screamed of lost epics, holding on to stories long forgotten. It was a past that whispered into the ears of the present, wrapping a cold cover of dread around the hearts that dared tread its territory. Deeper into the labyrinth, I was led by an inexplicable force, towards a room hidden in obscurity. Unlike other rooms, this one was devoid of any furniture. It was empty but for an old-fashioned Ouija board placed squarely in the middle. A gnawing sensation clenched my insides, a warning cry from my instincts. But curiosity brushed aside caution, and I found my fingers hovering over the planchette, guiding them to ask, "Is anyone there?" For a moment, silence consumed the room until the planchette slowly moved to "yes." A rush of excitement hit me, I was making contact. Many questions slipped from my lips. To each, answers glided seamlessly across the board. The conversation absorbed and intoxicated me, making the creeping fear a mere background noise. Then, I asked, "Who are you?" The board spelled NOTOFTHISWORLD. The room seemed to darken, as though the words had eclipsed all hope. Fear seeped into my being, the entity's response igniting nightmares in my mind. The silence was broken by a disembodied voice that seemed to ricochet off the walls, whispering, "Not of this world. Not of this world." Suddenly, the room was filled with a cacophony of whispers, as if 1,000 lost souls were trying to tell their tales all at once. The air became heavier, suffocating me with an unearthly presence. A chilling realization washed over me. I had invited something into our world that perhaps was never meant to cross paths with it. The spirit continued its malevolent dance around me, its menacing whispers growing louder. The room spun around me as the wind kicked up, flinging open the doors and windows. I fell to my knees, choking on the terror. I struggled to rise, my goal was the board. I had to end this, say goodbye, sever the connection. I did. The silence that followed was more daunting than before. I was alone in the dark, or so I thought. As I turned, my torch illuminated a sight that shook me to my core. Reflected in the mirror across the room was a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes glowing a nefarious red. It was me, but also not me. Speechless, I watched as it mimicked my movements. But as I took a step back, it moved forward, its ghastly grin widening. And then, it spoke, "You've been a gracious host." Its voice was humanity bereft of warmth, mimicking the voice I had. I ran, bolting through the endless maze of corridors toward the exit, the ominous laughter echoing through the mansion. Each shadow seemed to harbor the entity, every echo sounded like it was right behind me. Everything is a blur since then. I remember the town of Hemlock receding in the rearview mirror as I sped away. Upon reaching my sanctuary, my safe haven, I dared to look into a mirror, expecting the worst. But it was just me, tired, scared, but me. I had escaped. Or so I thought. More than physical, the scars are mental. Since that night, each reflection plays mind games. Sometimes it's just me, other times there's a menacing smudge, a dark presence I can't get rid of. The being claimed part of me that day, perhaps a mirror image of my psyche. I can't shake the feeling of constant surveillance, the hounding paranoia of being watched by me, but not me. So, here it is, my story, the conversation I should never have had, the darkness I should never have unleashed. I continue to exist, locked in mortal terror, constantly at war against an entity I invited into myself. Unspeakable horrors lurk in the world of the paranormal, relics of times and dimensions best left alone. If you ever stumble upon an Ouija board in a dusty, forgotten corner, remember my tale, leave well enough alone. Because some conversations, you never should have. And with each gaze into a mirror, I'm reminded, it's me. But not me. Not of this world.